So, Rob Irving, you are a last-minute addition to the Descendent.Studios team. Came in right under the wire there, just in time for the Kickstarter campaign.
I got here as soon as I could.
So you're jumping on board. Kind of a fun little journey we're going to get into take. Yeah.
So many reasons. I mean, it's part of it is the fact that the feeling of this small team building up to something really, I mean, it's already amazing, but what it's going to become is even more amazing. But getting really close with the community, all those kind of things that early on when I was at Cloud Imperium were happening more. I think the energy in an office this size is so different. And
I agree. After a while, it just kind of, there becomes a disconnect. You get too big and you just don't know anybody anymore. And new faces are showing up like, who are you?
Yeah, I would walk around the office and be like, do I know you? Do you work here? I didn't know if it was like a visiting person from the community or if it was an employee. But and plus, I mean, this group of people here is a lot of my closest friends. So
that's true.
You know, I've worked with you and Eric since the '90s at the Origin.
Yeah.
So.
Well, let's go back a little bit.
Difference.
Some people, not everybody has met you before. So let's talk a little bit about your background. What did you do before you got into gaming?
So I got into gaming right out of college.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wow.
That was my first real job. I mean, you know, internships and summer stuff. I worked in the computer lab when I was in school.
Quotes I saw there.
Real job. Well, there are those who would argue that making video games is not a real job still.
It took a while for me to convince my parents, but yeah.
Keeps the lights on, right? I mean, that counts. But I was working on a degree in aerospace engineering, and then at the time that I was doing that, it was right after the Challenger, which was a disaster for everything space related, and you know, an awful moment in general. But I mean, I remember where I was when that news came out. But so they were talking about my career counselors were telling me, you know, your jobs are basically going to be building fighter jets. I'm like, that's not why I got into this. I got into this for all the things that happened recently, you know, the Mars mission and the space station, all those things that I wanted to do weren't really available then, and they weren't going to be for a while. Right. So I changed majors to English, which I have to say went over super well with my mom because she has a master's in English. Dad, not so happy about it because he's a math computer guy. Right. But I finished up my degree, and I had interviewed at Origin in the middle of my last summer sessions. And I interviewed with Warren, I think, at the time.
Warren Spector?
Yeah, Warren Spector, and I was going to work on Kingdoms of Camelot, I think was the name of that game that they were working on. Yeah, using the Ultimate Engine. That was a long time ago. But, you know, I was preparing myself to explain to my parents why I dropped out of college in the middle of my last summer because I got a job making video games at some ridiculous amount of money a year. Like, you know,
because designers weren't getting paid much.
Oh yeah, it was like $14K was the starting salary for a TDA. That's right,
technical
design assistant. That was basically the description was do the things the programmers don't want to do.
Right, that was the intern job, essentially.
it was data grinder, and I mean it was great. I still loved it, but so I didn't get the job, so I didn't have to quit school. But the day I took my last final that summer, I got a call from a guy named Chris Roberts.
Oh, I know that guy.
Yeah, you've probably heard of him. Yeah, he's kind of famous. But he asked if I wanted to come work on his Strike Commander game. I'm like, I honestly didn't care what the name of the game was at that point. I'm like, wait, I get to go make video games? And I'm going to have a job out of college? Because I had no idea what I was going to do. I had no clue, no plan at all. So I went in there, and there I was, making games, and met a lot of really cool people.
Yeah. So Origin Systems, what did you work on at Origin Systems?
The list is so long. I was kind of, my position at Origin, I would just best define as closer. Because I think I had like 7 different titles. Because I went from design to producer to back to design to lead design to back to a producer. And depending on what game was in danger or was near finishing, when I got finished with my project, whatever project goes on, that's where I'd go.
Oh, so you were in eternal crunch mode.
Pretty much. I counted. I actually, in the 7.5 years I was at Origin, I worked in 3 different buildings because we moved a couple of times. I had 17 different offices. There was a time when I was literally running down the hall with my desk upside down with stuff piled on it to move to a new office. That was my entire life at Origin.
See, I worked the opposite end. I was the beginning of the projects, and then I'd bail to the next project before it went into crunch.
It took me a long time before I got to start some projects.
Yeah.
A lot of them at that time we were kind of belt tightening in an eternal cycle, so a lot of them never really got off the ground. But you know, it was good to get a chance to really head up some new designs. And
so Strike Commander,
Strike, Pacific Strike, Wing 3, Wing 3 3DO, Wing 4, Prowler, which never came out.
Right.
That was our mech game. Worked on. Then I moved to Longbow. I worked on Wing Commander Online. Oh, Prophecy. I forgot Wing Commander Prophecy, which is still one of my faves.
So lots of space, lots of
space,
ships.
a lot of combat.
Been doing it for a while.
Yeah. Then when I left Origin, then I started kind of branching out. But yeah, there was a lot of space, a lot of ships.
So most recently at Cloud Imperium.
Most recently at Cloud Imperium.
Right. And you were doing a lot of design at the trenches there.
A lot of systems design. Towards the end, I was working on a revamp of their star map, which was a really big deal. I hope they unveil that soon because it's pretty cool. I'm still very proud of that. I spent months redoing that.
Right.
But
now, I'm going to take you out of the game space for just a little bit. There's something you do on a fairly regular basis that maybe not everybody knows about, and that is you periodically grow your hair out as long as you possibly can.
It's getting a little shaggy already.
Yeah, and then you lop it off for locks of love.
I have, over the last 25 years, jeez, I'm old. I have chopped off my hair 3 times for donations.
Yep. In fact, one time we featured you in our show, and
we filmed it,
and a lot of people got to see you do that on camera.
Yeah, it's still hard to adjust every time it happens. It's a massive self-image change to suddenly not have any hair back there.
It helps when you're in a good salon where they're going to make you look good on top of a...
Nowadays, there's not a lot of hair anywhere, so it makes it a lot more challenging to grow it out.
So one of your other passions outside of like building worlds is building Lego worlds.
I am a huge Lego geek. I did ginormous. I have spent too much money on Lego models. I just finished R2-D2.
R2-D2.
The next one is the Sandcrawler.
Wow.
So there is a Star Wars theme there.
I got that.
It's, 3,000 something pieces? R2-D2 took me on and off a couple of weeks to finish.
Wow. Now this is straight up, this is a box design.
Box set, yeah. I mean, like the R2-D2 had 3 manual booklets.
Wow.
It came in numbered bags. You could only open the parts in a certain number at a time. Otherwise, it would freak you out.
All right, so did you see the Lego movie?
I saw the Lego movie twice.
What was the message to you about diversity versus conformity?
The message is everything is awesome. That is always the message. There is not a day that I'm having a rough day that I don't think somewhere in the back of my head, everything is awesome. That's all you needed to take for that
you like
movie.
working to the instructions and building something.
I like building the kits as they are. Sometimes they don't work the way you'd expect them to. I'm still a little confused by R2 because his middle leg isn't long enough. I may have to go back and reverse engineer that and figure out if I messed something up along the way.
Funny.
I hope I don't mess up the Sandcrawler because I messed up the space shuttle and I built it, and that was the first big model I did. And
getting back to Descendent.Studios, you're going to coming on as a lead designer here.
Okay. And I'm the creative director.
What are your creative director? I'm sorry.
The creative director.
The creative director.
Yes.
And what's that going to entail, you think?
That's going to entail, it's going to entail, because it's a small studio especially, it's going to entail a lot of different things. Certainly I'm going to be heading up the design and getting all the rule systems in place and stats and things like that. A lot of that will be me. But I am fully expecting to be in there building levels and testing and all the other things that come along with it. Hey, I might even pitch in on the programming. I've done it.
Imagine.
Yeah, we'll see. Whatever they need. But yeah, I mean, the idea is we're going to take this amazing new project and make it fun. That's at the end of the day, my job description is 3 letters. Fun.
Yep, absolutely. So heading into the Kickstarter campaign, and what's your predictions?
Wow. I mean, it's the amount of work that's been done by a group of very dedicated people all over the world is amazing. I think this Kickstarter is going to impress a lot of people. I think it's a really great project. So, predictions. Well, I sure think we're going to get funded. I hope. I'm always a bit of a pessimist, I guess, when it comes to, you know, if you prepare for the worst case scenario, the best case scenario is easy.
Well, that's our job, obviously,
Right.
to be aware of the breadth of possibilities that can happen in a project,
Yeah.
and be prepared for all of it.
Yeah. I hope we reach millions of people. I really do, because this is going to be a great game.
Well, it's great to see a reboot of a classic game that we all loved back in the day.
Oh yeah. That's going to be a big deal.